She's right back. I thought she was on vacation.
Okay. It is 6:30 p.m. and the Urban Design Commission meeting for February 11th, 2015 is called to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Sahel. Ms. Sullivan.
Here.
Ms. Emerton.
Here.
Mr. Winchester.
Here.
Ms. Ream.
Here.
Mr. Condon.
Here.
Mr. Leonetti.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have a quorum present for this evening. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Ream. Can I get a second? Do we have any? We have a second from Commissioner Condon. Do we have any discussion on the minutes?
I don't.
Okay. Any objection?
Nope.
Okay, minutes have passed. Moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get a? Oh, thank you. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Do we have disclosures for this evening? Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes, I'd like to be excused from Resolution 2014-017, Major Site Plan Review for New Fire Station Number 3, and Resolution 2014-018, Related Case 2014-0188, Context-Sensitive Solutions Transportations Project Site Plan Review. I was absent on December.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any additional disclosures? Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes, I would like to get absent from voting on the 2015-004 LUSEC Library. I'm the project designer, so I did not participate.
Okay, thank you. All right, no, as we don't have any other disclosures for this evening, we'll be moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Leonetti. Is there a second? And we have a second from Commissioner Winchester. Does anybody have any discussion or what would you like to do? Nope. All right, so the consent agenda has been approved. That brings us to our regular agenda. At this time, I am going to read the appeal process. An individual may have appeal rights relating to any action the Urban Design Commission takes, except Commission recommendations to the Assembly, which are not appealable. Appeals must be filed with the Clerk's Office within 20 days after approval by the Urban Design Commission of the resolution, which is the Commission's final decision. A fee for the appeal is required at the time of filing. All right, so this brings us to case 2014-0220. Is there a staff report?
No, just to point out the memo here from Dwayne Adams explaining the issue with the bleachers and the foot stomping. I think you all saw that in your packet. That's all that I have.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for staff? No? Commissioner Condon?
Yes. Ms. Ferguson, is this being reviewed under the old Title 21 or the new Title 21?
I think was it old. It was the old Title 21.
Old Title 21.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious why on page 18 of the staff packet and on page 3 of the petitioner's packet under landscape it says not applicable.
Oh,
there are several landscape issues that are declared not applicable. Why is that?
Yeah, through the chair, Mr. Condon. Applicants frequently do this. It's because the scope of their project is just to do the stadium additions. They're not doing any further landscaping, and it's not necessarily required. So that is how we've been handling all the stadiums improvements that have come through at this point. They're just looking at the stadium improvements and didn't plan, for the most part, to put in any landscaping.
Even though in section 21.40.020, section L of the old Title 21, it says that projects that are zoned P, L, and I are required to have visual enhancement landscaping. That would
Right.
be like trees 20 feet on center. et cetera.
Right, and typically what the designers do, they will do that around the outside of the whole site. Say if it's a new school, you've often seen it, they have a row of trees and shrubs right along the edge of their property. And that has already been done when we reviewed the school itself years and years ago. All that landscaping went in at that point. And so there's no additional landscaping going in for the stadium. I mean, it does say visual enhancement. It should go up wherever there's not a driveway or parking lot or building, that sort of thing. And a lot of that landscaping already went in when the UDC reviewed the East High School years ago. They put landscaping, around not only the edge, but interior to the site as well.
So a substantial improvement to the site doesn't kick in a requirement to meet the current code standard?
No, I mean, they could they put something around the edge of it, but I don't know that it's going to really change anything all that much.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to add a little bit more there. It's important to keep everything within the bigger picture, and this is an amendment to an approved master plan that was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2000. So all of these requirements that you're referring to, Ms. Ferguson just stated as well, was applied in 2000 on the master plan of the entire school. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any additional questions for staff? All right. We get a report from the petitioner.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, members of the Commission, my name is Dwayne Adams. I'm with Earthscape and representing the school district, Anchorage School District in this case. I think we met before on this a few months ago, and staff summarized it quite well. There were 3 conditions of approval. One of those was the issue related to foot stomping, and I think the memo pretty much says it. The project is not fully funded at this point to do everything we want. And as it says in that memo, that additional $70,000 is a serious hit. So the real question is, well, how effective is it, and is it really needed? This is a very different school from West High, where we did do this, and South High. In the case of South High, the school moved in, the neighbors were already present, and it was a very, very sensitive situation. West High, proximity to the neighbors right next to the field makes that certainly a little more sensitive, and the community council is much more attuned, perhaps members of the community council are, and so it was important to address that. All the other fields that we provided, whether it be Eagle River, Chuyak, Diamond, Service, none of those schools have had treatment. It's a relatively new thing. It was recommended by a noise consultant for the concerns of those neighbors, and so we implemented that. We did do some work with Mr. Tony Barrett at DHHS with the city. At West High, after things were installed, and his sense is really the key things are when touchdowns happen or when there's turnovers. That's when the big event happens. And that's not foot stomping, that is the high decibel. That's when we fully exceed the noise ordinance requirements of 60 decibels. The reality, though, is that human voice is not a regulated thing, but the school district does intend on schools, and it could certainly do that here, get noise permits just in case a band exceeds that limit or something like that. So that's something they're looking at doing. But the foot stomping, one thing to understand is this is an elevated field above the stands, above the surrounding neighborhood. Also, so that it doesn't project directly to it. It projects further. It becomes more ambient than not. Also, this is not a sensitive neighborhood. It fully embraces the school. It's the most diverse school and the highest population school, and is a pretty good neighbor to the neighbors, and the neighbors appreciate that. When we have had hearings on the field itself that no one attended, there's just not the level of concern that there was at South, for example, where we had almost 250 people who showed up for that hearing. It's not a sensitized neighborhood. Those many issues it's laid out in the memo, as well as the cost in this funding climate, are really scary to us with respect to the ability to get the approval and the funding for the only school that remains to get approval from this body on this. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do you have any questions for the Commissioner Condon?
Yes, Mr. Adams. Let's see. So there are no objections from the neighbors to the work being done?
Is your mic on? Did it get turned?
I think I must have hit
there
it
you go. Thank you.
by mistake. No, and I think staff can verify you didn't receive any negative comments either. Noise has never been an issue. There's the usual high school thing, donuts in the parking lot and that kind of thing. It's a high school. It's got high school things, but no, and there are bleachers there. They do actively have all sports held there except varsity football. All varsity football earlier has been held at Anchorage Football Stadium or Chugiak historically. I think we went over this last time. I can certainly go over it again, but there's just simply been a change in the way that this community and its boosters of high school football look at the home field thing. And it's now the American model that high schools have stadiums and you have home field advantage, and that it builds spirit, it builds community, and builds a sense of appreciation by the students for their football teams. And when I got here in 1977, football was on the third page of the sports section. Now it dominates the first page of the sports section if it's not listed on the first page. So it's just a changing community, and it now embraces football the way America seems to be doing that too, versus baseball when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Are there any additional questions? Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes, I'm just trying to understand the drawings. I just need a clarification. Behind the home grandstands, you're going to put the press box, which is not showing in the civil or landscape drawings, and then there's some sort of outline behind in C1.1. There's some outline behind the grandstand. Can you explain what's that? I'm trying to understand where the press box goes and what's that little outline around.
It's right there, isn't it? Excuse me.
Yes, and that shows in the other drawings. There's a
These are junction
pavement cut.
boxes.
Yeah, and there's a pavement cut.
This one. Madam Chair, Commissioner Sullivan, the press box is actually mounted into the bleachers, and so it is a part of the bleachers. Almost any of the ones you look at, West being most recently constructed, you can see how that's constructed is actually in the top 3 to 4 rows of the bleachers itself. What you see there is a junction box and electrical And what that's showing is pavement cuts that will be needed to accommodate underground electric that goes around and feeds the scoreboard as well as the lights on the other side. So that's what that's showing, is that pavement cut. It does look like a structure, but no, that's not what that is.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional questions for the petitioner? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, can we get a motion to approve the case? We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Ream. Is there a second? We have a second from Commissioner Condon. Commissioner Ream, would you please state your motion?
Yes. In the case of 2014-0220, approval of an amended site plan for East High School athletic facility improvements, I move to approve this case with the division recommendation number 1. And I'd like to, it doesn't speak to this, but I'd like to remove condition number 3 from the original site plan UDC condition, which states address how crowd noise such as foot stomping will be mitigated in the design. I don't think we need to do that for this case. I'm not sure how to state that.
So we have a motion to approve case 2014-0220, subject to staff conditions, staff recommendations on page 5 of the packet, and striking condition number 3 on page 6 of the packet. Commissioner Ream, would you please speak to your motion now?
Yes. I think that East High School is in need of these improvements. I think that they've done a great job with the site plan and with the mitigation of the speakers to allow for more localized noise reduction for the PSA system, and I just think it's a good thing for East High School and all high schools. So I'm in support of my motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Condon, would you like to speak to your second?
Yes, Madam Chair. In light of the fact that there hasn't been any community opposition to this development, I would say that it's a project that should move forward, with the caveat that I do feel like there should be some kind of boundary definition along East 20th Avenue, and I believe that Title 21 would enforce that kind of buffer zone between the school and the neighborhood. But in light of the fact that nobody in the neighborhood seems to care, I think landscaping could go a long ways towards mitigating sound, light, trespass onto the neighbor's property. But if there is no concern about such trespass, then I would say this project should move forward.
Thank you. Do we have any additional discussion? I would just also like to put a few findings of fact in there. On page 3 of the packet, this lines with Anchorage 2020 goals, policy number 44, policy number 78, and policy number 89. All right. That said, do we have any objection? Any objection from anybody? Okay. That passes. Commissioner Quest, I don't think we have any reports. Commissioner comments, I know I have one, just so everybody knows, next month is the new election of officers, which is chair and vice chair. So next month will be my last meeting, which I think we need to discuss if Monica is going to be stepping up from her vice chair duties, and then who else wants to be vice chair. So that election happens next month. Commissioner Sullivan, did you have something to add?
Yes, and I heard that you mentioned that you might not be with us if you're not the chair anymore. Is that
Well,
true?
I'm up in October, so I'm still here through October.
And could she be the chair again? I mean, I just think it's really good to have Monica.
Well, I think
I could keep-
but Jim had a good point. He said everybody should give it a chance. So.
I know, but we're
Or Commissioner Sullivan.
running so smoothly. I mean, and I just think it's important that, I mean, since I've been here, I think Monica's been the best chair. And I think that it's important that we have a good chair. And if she's doing a good job, I would think that maybe we can vote for her to stay one more year, and then I will do it. I agree that I should do it, but if we can maintain her one more year, because it's our presence, you know, when we are stumbling up in the chair, it looks so very, very unprofessional. And I think Monica is doing a great job. So that's for everyone to consider, to keep Monica one more year. So think about, leave.
Think about it, sleep on it. Commissioner Leonetti, did you have something to add?
I was just going to throw my name in a hat for either position. I will not be at the meeting next week. I will be on spring break.
Okay.
So I can't vote on it.
But you'd be up for doing it?
Yeah,
Okay.
either one of them I'd be happy to do. No. But I do agree that you're doing a great job, and if it continues that way, I would
Well,
support that.
I'm happy to share the responsibility. So, yeah.
And you're a great finder. And if you're the chair, you won't be doing a lot of that. You know, I'm just
No,
saying
I think that-
where we fit well.
I think. Yeah. Did you? Right.
I know. You guys made me do findings today. I'm like, nobody really? Nobody? They're on the page.
You will not be able to make motions, any of that stuff.
I know that. Yeah.
Okay.
But you can make findings of facts.
Yeah, but you're really good at,
Yeah.
I think you're doing a fantastic job keeping us with findings.
Thank you.
And well, let's just think about
Yeah.
very
We'll think-
well
yeah.
what we're doing.
Yep.
We can do a vote next week. And Commissioner Winchester?
Yeah, I was going to likewise say I'm very happy with as smooth as the meetings go, and I think that the people who make motions and have to find findings of fact and stuff have to stay out of the chair. I mean, otherwise, if you're in the chair, you're kind of you have to just run the meetings, and Monica's done just a super job, and so with that said, I'm not even putting my name up because I like to talk too. And it puts you in a position you're not there to really speak, but you have to pretty much run the meeting. So, thank you.
Commissioner Miller?
Are there any term limits, or is there anything preventing you from doing it again? Okay.
Us voting for her again.
I
Well, we don't
think
do it
You were
next
lobbying
week.
for her.
Everybody can think about it.
it sounds like we're going to have to forget to put that election on next month's agenda.
Oops.
If we dispense with that topic, I have a couple other things I wanted to talk about. One is, some of you, we mentioned it earlier before the meeting started, but some of you may not have heard or read in the paper, what have you, but Chair Trainee, you know, the chair of the Assembly, he had requested funds to put bullet-resistant material here. But, so that's there now. The idea being, I guess if somebody starts shooting, we duck under here and take your phone with you and pray. Yeah. So that's the deal on that. So I just wanted to pass that along. And the second thing is we have to talk about water. If you guys want to have water at the meeting, what happened, I used to bring it to a generation of earlier UDC commissioners than you guys. But they never drank any. One, the meetings were so short, and two, if they wanted water, they just brought it with them. So I asked them, and they all said, no, we don't need water. And then somebody said, well, if you could bring some cups, and you probably have noticed the cups sitting here. We used to bring cups, and they said, well, we'll just go out and, at the water fountain fill them. So that's how we've kind of been working for years and years, but I don't know. I mean, if you guys want to have, like, if there's 3 or more cases, I was thinking on the agenda, then I'll bring water. If it's less than that, we won't be here that long, or you guys can just pack your water if it's, a 2-meeting night or 1-meeting night. But if it's 3 or more, we'll pack water. Does that sound reasonable?
I think that's very reasonable.
I just hate the plastic, and that's why the UDC didn't want it. They didn't want to contribute to the plastic waste. So, does that sound okay? Okay.
Can I get a motion in support?
Okay. Thank you. Wait, 2 cases next month is what I've just been told? Yeah. Okay. Non-public. Wow. Does anybody have any additional comments this evening?
They always stay here.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn? I was going to say, how did Jerry just... We have a motion to adjourn from who I believe is Commissioner Leonetti. Where's seconded? 'Cause I'm afraid it won't adjourn it if the commissioner's not here.